As long as there's been a medical system, there has been medical bias. One recurring theme in this bias is the discrimination that women face in the medical industry. Statistically, most women will face being misdiagnosed, undertreated, or outright dismissed for their medical concerns, as opposed to their male counterparts, who the system is built for, and therefore works near flawlessly for them. This is why I decided to do my documentary project on this. In my documentary, I plan to delve into some of the most common biases women face in the medical world, such as the lack of education, the pink tax, stigma, and how women's suffering is normalised. This documentary would be primarily targeted to those who are passionate about women's rights and health, and also those who are connected to the medical industry, although I would try to make this documentary as accessible to as many people as possible to spread the message as much as possible. The documentary would be expository and would aim to show the discrimination women face in the medical field. It would delve into different aspects of the industry in order to expose the issue. The documentary would be titled Bias, the longest running scandal in healthcare. Some of this information I plan to portray both visually and also with a voiceover. For example, the pink tax section, I plan to show examples of it in action by finding products in supermarkets that have a clear price difference depending on which gender they are marketed to, while also having a voiceover explain the issue. Some of the information I will not be able to portray through real visuals, as some aspects, like discussions about heart attacks and medical diagnoses, will be difficult or unethical to film. Instead of showing the events, I would either only include a voiceover talking about it, or I would have a vague reenactment of those ideas. I plan to use multiple different locations for my documentary. One location would be a supermarket, such as Tesco, which I would use for the section about the pink tax to find real examples of the price gap between products. I also may film in a school or school-like environment when I discuss the lack of education surrounding women's health to show how ingrained the medical misogyny is within society, going all the way back to schools. For interviews, I plan to interview a science teacher to get their perspective on how young people are being educated on women's health, and also how they feel their health education should be shaped and whether they want it changed. The questions I will ask the teacher will revolve around the education of women's health and their perspective on it, to show the audience the drastic levels of information that young people are not being taught and the risks that has. Most of the audio that I will use will be a voiceover explaining the topics that I am discussing. There will also be some clips where there will be people talking directly to the camera, namely in the interview sections. I plan to edit the interview so there are none of my questions in the final video, so it is only the person being interviewed who is shown on screen and whose voice is heard. I plan to use some light backing music as well to make the audio less empty. The music will be relevant to what is shown on screen, so the scenes showing darker moments would have more serious music, and the lighter, more upbeat music will be used for less dark scenes. I aim to include several reenactments, such as when I am discussing women's risk of heart attack, where I aim to show someone experiencing the different symptoms faced by men and women to show how different they are, and the risk women face as a result of the lack of education on the subject. I won't show the faces of the person doing the reenactment to make it more general and personal to anyone watching. I also plan to stage someone buying products in the supermarket to highlight the pink tax. I have no current plans to use B-roll in the documentary and plan to film everything myself, as I do not know of any sources for B-roll that would have what I need for the topic of my documentary. The first act of the documentary will follow the general introduction of the topic and setting up the facts that the documentary is based on. It will discuss how women are impacted by the medical system being flawed and the main issues that are faced as part of it. The second act will follow the discussions and interviews with people partaking in the documentary, getting different perspectives of the issue and personal stories to make the idea more impactful and personal. The third and final act will wrap up the discussions of the issues and begin questioning how these issues can be fixed. It will include mentions of different studies proving that some aspects of the medical industry are improving and getting better for the women that it serves, but reminding the audience that we still have far to go.